content at 82. I've learned a lot about life, but there's one decision I deeply regret: moving into a nursing home. At the time, it seemed like the right choice. My family encouraged it, promising that I'd have all the care and comfort I needed. I believed them, but once I got there, I realized that the reality was nothing like what I had imagined. I know many of you might be thinking about this option, whether for yourself or a loved one. Maybe you feel like it's the safest decision, or maybe you've been told it will make life easier. But before you take that step, I want to share 6 things I wish someone had told me before I moved in. The truth is, life in a nursing home isn't just about convenience. It changes everything. And once you go in, getting out isn't as simple as you think. Stay with me until the end, because some of these lessons might surprise you. And if you know someone considering a nursing home, this might be exactly what they need to hear before making a life-changing decision. Regret 1: losing my independence. When I look back on my life, I remember the thrill of waking up with the sunrise, feeling that spark of freedom as I decided how to spend my day. I recall the comforting aroma of coffee brewing in the kitchen, the quiet moments of reading a favorite book in a cozy armchair, and even the simple pleasure of taking a walk on my own terms. Independence was a part of who I was. It wasn't just about making decisions, it was the feeling of owning my time and my space. But as time went on, I learned that sometimes the choices we make for convenience can come at a great cost. When I moved into a nursing home, a decision encouraged by those who loved me and thought they had my best interests at heart, I soon discovered that my once cherished independence was gradually slipping away. The strict schedules dictated every aspect of my day: when to wake up, when to eat, and even when to sleep. It wasn't that I didn't enjoy the extra care. It was the realization that I had traded my freedom for a promise of convenience. Take, for example, the story of Mr. Thompson, a dear friend who spent his whole life running his own small business. He loved the spontaneity of his daily routine, the freedom to decide on a whim whether to take a stroll or call a friend. But once he moved into a care facility, he told me how every minute was scheduled. Even a simple choice like what to eat became something he had no control over. According to a study by the American Association of Retired Persons, or AARP, nearly 70% of older adults feel that personal autonomy is essential to a fulfilling life, and losing that sense of independence can be quite disheartening. Isn't it striking how a simple routine can be a lifeline of identity? Think back to a time when you made a small decision on your own, maybe choosing your outfit for the day or planning a spontaneous outing, and remember how that little act made you feel. What is one simple routine or decision from your past that made you feel truly independent, and why did it matter to you? Regret 2: feeling forgotten. I once believed that moving into a nursing home would mean I'd never be far from the love and attention of my family. In the early days, visits were frequent, filled with laughter and familiar chatter. My daughter would come by once a week, and my grandchildren would often fill the room with their playful energy on weekends. There was a time when I felt their warmth, and knew that no matter what, I was never truly alone. However, as the months passed, life began to pull everyone in different directions. My daughter started calling more than visiting, and my grandchildren, caught up in the busy whirlwind of school and work, could no longer come as often as before. The visits, once a constant, became a rarity. I began to see that physical presence mattered. A phone call couldn't quite replace the comfort of a warm embrace or a shared meal. In the gentle words of life lessons from the elderly, I learned that while technology can bridge a distance, nothing compares to the warmth of genuine, in-person connection. Consider Mrs. Jenkins, a woman I met in the common room who had once been the heart of her community. In her vibrant youth, she organized neighborhood picnics and always had time to lend an ear to anyone in need. After moving into the home, however, her visits from family dwindled. She said, "I still feel loved, but sometimes I feel like I'm living in the shadows of your busy lives." Studies show that nearly 60% of older adults in long-term care facilities experience loneliness, a statistic that reminds us how important it is to maintain close connections. In addition to these experiences, I've come to realize that the routine of visiting can light up a day in ways that digital interactions never quite do. The anticipation of a knock at the door, the sound of familiar voices greeting you in person, these moments bring a kind of solace that is hard to describe. When you share physical space, even the simplest act like sharing a meal or sitting together in silence deepens the bond and reminds us that we matter. I encourage you to think of your own relationships. Have you ever felt the bittersweet sting of being forgotten, even when surrounded by people? If you're still here with me, type 2 in the comments to let me know you're finding this information helpful. Regret 3. Losing my sense of purpose. For most of our lives, we find purpose in the daily rituals that fill our days with meaning. Whether it's tending to a garden, cooking a special meal, or simply taking pride in a well-kept home, these small actions give us a reason to rise each morning. In my younger days, I took joy in these routines, each one a thread in the fabric of a meaningful existence. They were reminders that I mattered, that I was contributing something valuable to the world around me. After I moved into a nursing home, I realized that those daily rituals had faded into the background. Meals were prepared for me, chores were no longer mine to do, and the little pleasures that once defined my day seemed to vanish. I felt like I had lost not just my routines, but a part of myself. I saw the same loss in others around me. George, an 84-year-old former carpenter, once filled his days with building projects and fixing things around his home. In the facility, however, he found no place to apply his skills. "I feel useless," he confided to me with a heavy heart. And that feeling of purposelessness, of not having something to strive for, slowly crept in like a shadow. According to recent research by the National Institute on Aging, maintaining a sense of purpose can actually improve longevity and quality of life among older adults. Engaging in meaningful activities not only boosts mental health, but also fosters a sense of community and belonging. These life lessons from the elderly remind us that our contributions and hobbies continue to define who we are, no matter our age. I have also seen how rediscovering a forgotten hobby or starting a new one can rekindle that inner spark. Some residents have taken up painting, turning blank canvases into colorful expressions of their emotions and memories. Others have joined book clubs, sharing stories and wisdom over shared passages of life. These small acts of creativity and connection serve as a gentle reminder that purpose isn't lost. It can simply be reimagined in new ways. So I ask you, what passions or hobbies have you held on to over the years, and how have they given you purpose? Regret 4. Declining health faster than expected. When I was younger, I prided myself on staying active. I may not have been a marathon runner, but I had a routine that kept me fit. A morning walk around the neighborhood, stretching, and tending to my garden. It wasn't just about physical health, it was about feeling alive and engaged with the world. However, once I moved into the nursing home, I found that the environment, designed for convenience, inadvertently led me to slow down. It might sound surprising, but a life of ease can sometimes come with hidden costs. Without the daily need to push myself physically, I noticed my body growing weaker. My legs, once strong from years of walking and dancing, began to feel stiff and unresponsive. I saw similar changes in others around me. Take Alice, for instance, a spirited 81-year-old who, not long after moving in, found herself relying on a walker and eventually a wheelchair. She confided, "I don't know when it happened, but I feel like I've aged 10 years in just a few months." Research from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, or CDC, highlights that physical inactivity is one of the leading causes of muscle deterioration in older adults, which in turn can affect overall health and independence. In reflecting on these life lessons from the elderly, I realize that it's crucial to maintain our physical activity, no matter how comfortable life becomes. Even gentle exercises, like a short walk or a few stretches, can help preserve our strength and mobility. Small activities, such as tending a few potted plants by the window or even dancing slowly to your favorite old tune, can rekindle that spark of joy and vitality. Many of us have memories of feeling invincible during a brisk morning stroll or laughing with a friend during a lighthearted exercise class. These moments remind us that movement isn't just about exercise. It's a celebration of life and a tribute to our enduring spirit. What small physical activity brings a smile to your face or reminds you of the days when movement felt like a celebration of life? If you're still here with me, type 4 in the comments to let me know you're finding this information helpful. Regret 5, the loss of privacy and dignity. One of the things I didn't fully consider before moving into a nursing home was just how much privacy I would lose. At home, I had my own space. I could close my bedroom door, sit in silence if I wanted, and do things on my own terms. But in a nursing home, privacy is a luxury you don't always get to keep. From the moment I arrived, I felt like I was constantly being watched. Staff came in and out, there were scheduled room checks, and shared spaces meant you were rarely alone. Even simple things like getting dressed or using the bathroom often required someone's assistance. I know they were just doing their job, but it's not easy to accept help for things you've done independently your entire life. I remember my first week struggling with the idea that I had to ask for permission to do things I once did without thinking. Want to take a shower? You might have to wait until someone is available to help. Need to use the restroom? Sometimes pressing the call button meant waiting longer than you'd like. Even meal choices were limited. If you didn't like what's on the menu that day, well, too bad. Then there was the issue of roommates. Not everyone gets a private room, and sharing a space with someone you didn't choose can be frustrating. I was lucky to have a kind roommate, but I heard stories from others who weren't so fortunate. Some had roommates who were loud, unclean, or even had cognitive issues that made sleep nearly impossible. And no matter how much you try to make your room feel like home, it's never truly yours. Dignity is a hard thing to lose, and I didn't realize how much of mine I'd have to surrender until I was already there. When people knock, but don't always wait for an answer. When you're spoken to like a patient instead of a person. When your daily routines are dictated by a schedule you didn't create. If you're considering a nursing home, ask yourself, are you prepared to give up the privacy and control you've had your entire life? Because once it's gone, it's hard to get it back. Regret 6, realizing it's harder to leave than you think. When I first moved into the nursing home, I told myself it was temporary. I thought I'd give it a try, see how things went, and if I didn't like it, I could always leave. But what I didn't realize was just how hard it would be to get out once I was in. At first, it seemed simple. If I didn't like it, I'd just go back home. But home wasn't the same anymore. My house was set empty, and maintaining it from a distance became difficult. My children had already started making changes, selling things they thought I wouldn't need, even considering renting out the place. When I brought up the idea of returning, they hesitated. Are you sure you can manage on your own? Wouldn't it be safer to stay? We just want what's best for you. Then there was the issue of physical decline. After months of living in a place where I didn't have to cook, clean, or even walk very far, I wasn't as strong as I used to be. The independence I once had started slipping away, making the idea of moving back home more difficult than I ever imagined. I wasn't as confident in my ability to live alone, and that fear kept me stuck. I met others who had the same experience. They thought they'd try the nursing home for a little while, only to realize that leaving wasn't as easy as they thought. The longer you stay, the harder it becomes to adjust to life outside. Some people even lost the option entirely once their home was sold, or their savings were drained by the cost of care. There was no going back. That's the part nobody tells you. Moving in feels like a decision you can reverse, but for most people, it isn't. The nursing home slowly becomes your whole world, and before you know it, the outside life you once knew starts feeling like a distant memory. If you're considering a nursing home, ask yourself, are you prepared for the possibility that once you go in, leaving might not be as simple as you think? Because once you settle in, the barriers to leaving, whether financial, physical, or emotional, can be harder to overcome than you expect. If you're still here with me, type 6 in the comments to let me know you're finding this information helpful. Final thoughts. Looking back, I don't regret growing older, but I do wish I had known that a nursing home wasn't my only option. I entered expecting comfort, safety, and an improved quality of life. Instead, I discovered a place that gradually took away my independence, privacy, purpose, and even my sense of self. Does this mean that nursing homes are inherently bad? Not at all. Many people truly need the level of care they offer. However, before you decide, please take a moment to think about what you might be giving up. Once you move in, life can change in ways you never imagined. If I could turn back time, I would have fought harder to remain in my own home, sought alternative ways to get the help I needed without sacrificing my freedom, and made absolutely sure that moving in was necessary. If you're currently facing this decision, I encourage you to ask yourself, is this really the best choice for me, or is it simply the easiest one right now? Remember, the life you have today, your routines, your independence, your personal choices is something precious, and it's worth holding on to for as long as you can. Thank you for taking the time to listen to my story. I would love to hear from you. Please leave a comment below sharing one valuable lesson you've learned and how you plan to keep your independence and spirit alive. Your thoughts and experiences are important. Hearing them gives me great motivation and encouragement. If you found this message helpful, please like, subscribe, and share it with others. Your support helps me continue creating content that informs and inspires. As we move forward together, I leave you with a timeless thought. Do not regret growing older. Instead, cherish every moment and guard your freedom, for it is the truest form of wealth.